All right, welcome to Virtual Bourbon. My name is Steve Akley. We've got a fun show tonight. We're going to be talking about Ezra Brooks, some really vintage stuff here. So these are both from the 1960s. One is vintage 1968, which is my vintage as well. And then the other is 1969. So these came from decanters, and we'll talk about those. I'll even be able to show you the decanters that they came from. Even have the boxes on these. So this was a pretty cool find when I got these. Ezra Brooks itself has a very interesting history. Kind of, believe it or not, pretty shady. You know, it's amazing how they used to promote themselves and things like that long before the ownership now. They're made, as we know, by Lux Row Distillers, which is owned by Luxco here in St. Louis, where I live. And pretty above the board right now. I mean, it's a great company, but back in the day, man, they did some crazy stuff. So we're gonna talk about that in just a second here. The brand started in 1957 by Frank Silverman and Company, which was Hoffman Distilling Company. So that's the distillery that was making it initially. And but their story really doesn't start in 1957. It probably starts a year or two before that. Jack Daniel's, for some reason, was starting to pick up a little bit of steam, and Brown-Forman bought them in 1956 and dumped a bunch of advertising money in there. Matter of fact, I know we just did one with Wes where we talked about the allocation of early times advertising, which at the time in the mid 50s was one of the top selling bourbons, and they took the money, advertising money from that, and dumped everything into Jack Daniel's. And of course, that worked. That brand really took off, and so much so that they had shortages, and they started to have to allocate it, something that we deal with today. We think, oh, this is all a new phenomenon and things like that. Whiskey allocation is a product of 2010s forward. But in reality, back in the 50s, Jack Daniel's was struggling to keep up and started to allocate their whiskey. And of course, that leaves an opening in the market. How do you pick up that slack if they don't have enough product to sell? And as we know with whiskey, you can't just flip a switch and make more of it and it's out the next day. You can make more of it and lay down more, but it's going to take time to mature. So distilleries began to look at how they could capture some of that market. And at Hoffman Distilling, they had a pretty brilliant idea. Their distiller came up with this. His name was Ezra Rippey, and he was the distiller, part of the Rippey family. So when we talk about Wild Turkey's history, Rippeys are involved in that. Rippey is a name that's heard throughout distilling, kind of like the beans or the peppers, or there's several other names that you hear that fraction off and work at different companies and things like that, the Rippeys being one of them. And so Ezra came up with this idea, and he wanted to name it kind of like Jack Daniel's, just kind of a straightforward name but that he thought really kind of was melodious. It really flowed off the tip of the tongue. And he thought Ezra Brooks was a good sounding name. Put his first name in there. And just like Jack Daniel's is named after a person, but there was no Ezra Brooks. I think sometimes that gets confused a little bit because Bernie Lubbers, who is certainly well respected, well known, in one of the articles he did, he used to do a lot of articles under the Alcohol Professor, I think was the name that he went by. And one of the research things that he did was famous bourbon people. And last time I checked, it was still up on the internet, and it said Ezra Brooks. He couldn't find out much information on him, but it was his understanding that he was worked with Colonel E.H. Taylor on the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897. So a lot of people will cite that as Ezra Brooks is a real person. He helped Colonel Taylor with the Bottled and Bond Act, but that probably goes from how Ezra Brooks was marketed early on. A lot of untruths and shadiness to it. And I bet you there was some marketing piece that probably tried to tie that history together, and probably Bernie saw that, and that's where he got that, I bet, because again, it's no truth. There was no person ever named Ezra Brooks that this whiskey's based on. Not that maybe there's an Ezra Brooks somewhere. Highly unusual name, but maybe it's happened. So what they did was they tried to create themselves as closely as possible to Jack Daniel's to try to make the consumers think it was pretty much the same thing. And listen to all these similarities here. Now, ultimately, this would lead to a lawsuit. So Brown-Forman, which of course owned Jack Daniel's, would sue Ezra Brooks and Hoffman Distilling. So, but listen to these things that were the same. Because to me, if I was on a jury or I was the judge here making this decision, it's pretty clear cut. But they both came in a square bottle, which is unusual. at the time. We see that a little bit more now. Beam has a bottle like that, and others have bottles kind of similar to that. A lot of them look kind of a little bit like Jack Daniels, and I think they still fight this stuff today. But that certainly wasn't commonplace at the time. They both used a black and white label. You're thinking, well, okay, that's not that much though. But it goes on. It goes on. They both had a photo of a drawn, not a photo, but a drawing of an old-time distillery as the artwork. Ezra Brooks called itself a real sippin' whiskey, whereas Jack Daniels on the label called it a rare old sippin' whiskey. They were both 90 proof, and Jack Daniels said in their advertising 90 proof by choice, and Ezra Brooks said 90 proof by character. And let's see here. Jack Daniels said charcoal mellowed drop by drop, which of course their Lincoln County process. And Ezra Brooks stated in their advertising, every sip is mellowed because every drop is charcoal filtered. So again, using the charcoal thing, a different process. Basically, they are at the time, and which most bourbons did in the 50s, the closest that they could do, the chill filtration wasn't invented yet, but they would run it through a paper cloth thing with charcoal in it, just as a means of filtering out some of the oils and things like that that would cause the murkiness that we commonly take care of now when they use chill filtration. So they would do that. The ad slogan that Jack Daniels started to use because they were experiencing these shortages was, "There isn't quite enough to go around." So, hey, just to let you know, there isn't quite enough to go around. So they're, advertising, admitting that and being upfront. And Ezra Brooks in their advertising said, there just ain't enough around. So, I mean, pretty much line by line, everything JD was doing, they were copying. Now, the big difference would be the thing that would save them. Would be the thing that would save them in this lawsuit, because if they would have lost this, I'm sure the company probably would have closed. They were having financial difficulties and would close after this. But they what they did is they presented themselves as a Kentucky bourbon. That was on the label. And of course, Jack Daniels was a Tennessee whiskey. Even at that time, they called themselves a Tennessee whiskey, and talked about their Lincoln County process. So the judge ruled on that consumers wouldn't be confused. One's a Tennessee whiskey and one's a Kentucky bourbon. There's no confusion on there. So they won. And Ezra Brooks. So that allowed that brand to stay in business and do what it was doing. And I thought it was pretty interesting that they just kept doing those things. As a matter of fact, in 1965, on Sip and Corn's website, so if anybody ever goes on his blog and checks out Brian's blog, in 1965, he had a copy of an ad saying that Ezra Brooks says, hey, they're out of stock. So if you don't find it at your local liquor store, take heart. We're going to have more on right away. In reality, there was no shortage or anything like that at all. There was no, but as a way to create this false demand, it almost sounds like an old Wild West thing, the fact that, you just say whatever you want and it happens. They really weren't kept in check on anything. So it was, pretty interesting. They stayed in business. Hoffman did, and kept the brand until 1979 when they closed their doors. And if you've done most of these, which a lot of the people that are on today's event do most of these, the one that Wes did, he did a Hoffman Distilling a decanter. I forget what the decanter was, but he did a decanter from Hoffman Distilling, and talked about the fact that would become the bottling plant for Old Rip Distillery. So Julian Van Winkle bought it. He never produced or anything like that there. He just needed a production facility for bottling, not for production. He needed a bottling facility. So he bought that distillery, and that's where he bottled all the Old Rip products, and even Pappy Van Winkle up until the time when they worked out the deal to be part of Buffalo Trace, to have that alliance with them. But prior to that, it was done at the old Hoffman Distilling Company, which was in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. So same place Four Roses and Wild Turkey is. So in 1979, with Hoffman closing, it was still a well enough brand to have some equity to be worthwhile to own. So Medley bought them, which Medley was a quality producer. So that kind of brought the brand up some. And in 1988, Medley, though, was struggling and went out of business, and Glenmore bought them. in 1988. And of course, that medley whiskey that I talked about kind of as it was going up, they saw the benefits of that. Glenmore did, because in 1989 they won the gold in the International Spirits Competition in London with Ezra Brooks. So that was kind of a highlight for the brand. Prior to that, it was kind of a working man's whiskey. It wasn't anything that was winning gold medals or anything like that. So that was huge for the brand. And of course, though, Glenmore got bought out. And so in 1991, United Distillers bought that brand, and they didn't have it for long. In 1992, of course, they were having financial difficulties, went out of business. Heaven Hill bought all kinds of brands from them. And Heaven Hill kept some of those and flipped a bunch of them. So they basically became like the center. They just bought them all and then started divvying them out. And one of them that they sold off was to the David Sherman Company, which David Sherman is the St. Louis-based company, named after the guy who started the company, but is now, of course, Luxco. So Don Lux, who owns the company, wanted to rename it, rebrand it after his family. That was his father-in-law, David Sherman. So he wanted to have that Lux name in there. So he renamed the company Luxco. But that they did acquire it in 2006. And the agreement that they signed, though, was a very good agreement. The agreement that they signed, that they would buy that brand, but Heaven Hill would have to provide the barrels for them. So that's a situation that lasted all the way. As a matter of fact, it still lasts today, but there is a sunset on it. So they're in the process now. Lux Row, of course, is distilling and will be making Ezra Brooks and all the other brands moving forward. But they're just in the process of utilizing the last of their stocks from Heaven Hill, and we'll be making that switch soon. So it's something that is happening as we speak. And my understanding, they have all the barrels that they're going to get, so that they have to vat them, or they can leave them in the barrel, but then of course they continue to age and change. So but they have all of that inventory that they're going to have at this point. But they do have a great relationship too. When I went to the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, there's two levels of the Hall of Fame. The first one is you just go into the Hall of Fame. And the second one is kind of a lifetime achievement award. And I don't know if they do that every year, award one person. It seems like every year someone gets it. So I guess it's a thing that they do every year. And it can be someone who either hasn't made it to the Hall of Fame, or it can be someone who made it, but again, they're recognized. So like Jimmy Russell made the Hall of Fame and then got that lifetime achievement award that's named after Parker Beam. And when I went that year, the person that got it was Max Shapiro, owner of Heaven Hill, who was already in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, but he got that award. And the person who presented him, which I thought was really interesting, they always have someone present you and read your induction, and it was Don Lux. So that shows you what type of relationship they have, because anybody could have done that. It could have been anybody historically. The person decides who presents them, and I thought that was real interesting. He chose Don Lux to do that. That really is a testament to how close they work together and what good friends they are. So I thought that was pretty cool. So today, it's kind of Ezra's kind of again still always what it always was. I think I can't say it's bad. It's not great. It's just kind of in between, though. Are some good products. I like the old Ezra 7, the 117 proof. I think that's a pretty good product. But the regular Ezra is 90 proof, value purchase item. Again, probably a great mixer. And then they've got a bunch of other items too. They got some that come and go. They've got a cream. They've got some rye whiskeys. So Ezra is an interesting brand for sure. What we're going to be trying today is the 68 and 69 decanters. Again, these would have been bought or brought to market by Hoffman, and they would have been distilled in 56 and 57. So the first one even predates when Ezra Brooks was a company, but again, that doesn't matter. They're just using inventory that they have on hand. Hoffman predated that. So the fact that they're using whiskey from 56 from a brand that started in 57, that's actually not that hard to explain away. So the first one is the streetcar. So it comes in a box like that. And here is the actual decanter that I got. So looks like that had a little top on there. And kind of good looking, I guess. Okay. My dad would have liked it. He was big into streetcars. His father drove streetcars in St. Louis. So he would have liked that. The other one is actually, it's a bigger decanter, but it's kind of a goofy looking. It's a train. But just, I don't know, looks like a kid's toy or something if you'd see it. So That's that one. And again, it comes out here where the steam comes, is where you empty that one. So that's the 2 decanters that it came in. And when the guy did bring both of those out, though, when I was looking at the stuff that he had, I was excited about it because I always like Ezra and things like that. Again, not that it had anything to do with St. Louis at that time, but because I'm from St. Louis and Ezra now is a St. Louis-based product, I love the fact that we could try something from the old days, from the history of the brand. So that's really why I bought these from that guy. So I don't know. I think we should pour both of these. So we got the 2 samples, 68 and 69. I think we should pour both of them out and literally do this thing truly side by side. So I'm going to pour out here, and we'll go through and nose them both first, side by side, and then we'll taste them side by side, kind of going back and forth a little bit, and then we'll vote. We'll see which one that we like better out of the 2. There is a difference. I mean, the 69 is a shade and a half darker. It is a little bit darker than that. That may or may not be a good thing. I don't know. We'll see how that plays into the taste of the whiskey, because that's the important thing. All right, you guys got those poured. Let's take we'll go in your order, of course. So we'll start with the 68 from the Streetcar on the nose. I mean, it's really sweet. Brown sugar, for sure. That's kind of a definite brown sugar too. What else do you guys getting on the nose of that?
I'm getting a little fruit.
Fruit, yeah. It's definitely sweet. So yeah, anything on the sweet spectrum, I think, is fair game here. It's definitely that. Let's switch to the other one here, just to do as close as we can. Maybe we want to do the old smell your arm to reset the factory system there, so we can get a clean nose on the second one. Okay, definitely different. More floral, definitely more alcohol smell. They're both the same proof. They're both 90 proof. Everything about these is the same, other than the 1 year difference in release and distillation, of course.
One kind of has a musty smell.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the nose definitely on the first one better. It's kind of more of a classic nose with that brown sugar. This one's
weird.
May need to open up some more. As Jason Bronner would tell us, sometimes you got to let these Dusties open up a little bit. So that might be some fun to taste them both, just one taste, and then we'll let them sit, talk a little bit, and then go back to it and see if we still are on the same page with those.
Yeah, kind of a medicinal smell too.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you guys? All right. Anything else on the nose of that second one? All right. Let's do the taste. We'll do a little side by side. Take a taste, and like I said, maybe we'll talk about some other things and come back, and then we'll vote after we come back and try the second time after it sits out there a little bit. So let's give this one a taste. Okay. What are we thinking there?
Kind of tastes like the second one smells almost.
Yeah, it's almost a medicine. The second one is. Yeah.
It's
almost
a little,
like cough syrup.
It's a little harsh, I'll say that. I'm getting cardboard notes on the taste. Yeah, it's not. I do get some caramel in there, but yeah, it's definitely reflective of a lower end on the spectrum.
Oh.
Distillery. Disappointing because the nose was fantastic on this one, I thought, but
yeah,
the taste is a little harsh.
That's on a 68.
Yeah, that's a 68 is the first one. Distilled in 56. The second one, the 69, again, they're both 12 years old, so it was distilled in 57. All right, so maybe this will trick us. I'm hoping that this is going to trick us. So like Tony, I'm going to clear the palate with some water here. I think we all agreed the nose was not great on the second one. Maybe the taste, though, is where it makes up for it. And that'd be awesome. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Here we go. I'm scared. I mean, I think that one's better. It
A little better, yeah.
kind of floral notes to it. Mint is in there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that there is some, this is weird, right? I don't know. Danny, what do you think? Neither one of these would be award winners, I don't think. So I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear. They didn't have a grand slam with either of these.
No.
Finish is better.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Legend? What do you think of that?
I think the 69 finish is better.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. The 68 kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth after you finish it. It's not, which I don't know. That everything about that looks like classic. I mean, that's right. The profile color wise you want. The nose still stands up. The nose is good.
Yeah.
The second one, you still get the kind of the medicine-y. But it does taste slightly better. Let's come back to them and then we'll vote. Ezra, what do you guys think? Do you guys buy any Ezra now?
Yeah, I got an old Ezra.
Yeah.
I've got the Ezra, the 10 label, the Ezra 7,
Okay.
and then the newer Ezra 7 that they came out with.
Yeah.
I got both of those.
Yeah. They recently, redesigned the package and stuff. They put some bunny into it recently. It looks good, I think. Again, I think it's good, solid value type of bourbon. So, yeah, that's a sharp looking bottle.
But if today, if it tasted like this, I wouldn't have done it. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can't all be winners. That's why we try these things. Gosh, if all of them were
Right.
great, it would be, I don't know. Well, it would be great if they were all great, but it's just not based in reality. Yeah. So, and I mean, Luxro does a really nice job. Who's been to Luxro Distillery? Anybody besides me?
Been to the gift shop.
Been to the gift shop? Gift shop?
Done the tour.
Done the tour? Avery, did you take the tour?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's actually a nice new facility. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, everything about it is nice. The design is nice. The place, when they take you in that barrel warehouse, the way they're lined up and it's a great
Oh,
picture op. Yeah, it's cool. Weird little thing about them, and I don't hate this. I like it because they are a St. Louis-based company. They could do anything they want. They could move to Kentucky, but they keep the headquarters in St. Louis, which is nice. And they do all the bottling here, so they keep those St. Louis jobs, which is crazy to me. It seems like they've got room. They got a nice big facility there. Seems like you just bottle it on site, but they take everything, load it up, bring it here to St. Louis, and bottle it here in the STL. So. I like that because it creates jobs in St. Louis, so I have no beef there. Keep doing that, Luxco, if you're listening. So, but yeah, these decanters too, or you never know what you're going to get. Kind of a little hit and miss with these things. But it was fun that day. A guy brought them back of a pickup truck. And, wait a minute, are those Ezra? And when I saw they're from the 60s, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. So had to have them for sure. What else? Who's met John Rempe? John Rempe, anybody? No? He's a nice guy. Yeah, I got to get him on some shows. I know that they want to come on some shows and talk about some of the stuff they've got going on. So just scheduling things is hard. Schedules are pretty tight. What else? Any questions about the history? Pretty wild stuff, wasn't it? I mean, they They really push it. How would you guys have voted in there? If doesn't it seem like they were just ripping off Jack Daniels? I don't know how they didn't win that lawsuit.
Right.
I mean, so many of the things they just changed the wording just slightly. 90 proof by choice, 90 proof by character. I mean, to say that we're not stealing, I don't know, or borrowing at least. It seemed to me like they were doing it, but what got Jack Daniels was the old Tennessee whiskey thing, the thing that they hang their hat on. It got thrown back at them. So, yeah, you're Tennessee whiskey. You're not Kentucky bourbon. So how can people get confused? That had to be a blow for them. They couldn't have liked that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's usually, with stuff like that, that all it takes is one item that's going to cause somebody to say, I know the difference between them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what the ruling came back. Yeah. It's like, you can't get that confused despite all this other stuff. Yeah. Despite all the things that you've lined out here, no one could get confused, a Kentucky bourbon and a Tennessee whiskey. So that's what cost them.
The funny part about it is Jack Daniels is technically a bourbon. They choose to call it a state pride. They choose to call it a Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah. And they always stuck to that up until very recently. I know that Jeff Arnett, their master distiller now, even he is saying it's a bourbon. And I've heard him on a podcast, the one that they did from the distillery.
They just don't call themselves,
Right. And that's what he said. He said, we can be a bourbon if we wanted to be, but we don't want to be. We want like the uniqueness of being a Tennessee whiskey, but we are technically a bourbon.
I would imagine all the all the big guys in Kentucky are probably glad that they do that, because if they didn't, the largest selling bourbon would be in Tennessee and not Kentucky.
Yeah. It's a rare thing where no one wants that. Yeah. Jack Daniels likes being different, and the bourbon industry likes them being different as well. So everybody's happy with the way it is, even if it causes arguments and barroom chatter. I mean, the people that are tried and true Jack Daniels fans will fight you to the death saying it's not bourbon, it's Tennessee whiskey. We run it through charcoal at the end.
People think that running it through maple charcoal
gives it some sort of flavoring, but it doesn't.
An additive. It's actually a subtractive process.
Yeah. So
it actually strips flavor out of the distillate.
Yep. Yeah.
As we found out.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yep. What do you think, Danny? Do you drink any Jack Daniels?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you? I like their barrel strength stuff a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just a JD Black Label guy, but I like their barrel strength stuff is fantastic.
Right, but I did not care for the Sinatra there at all.
Didn't like the Sinatra one, huh?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I never bought a bottle of Sinatra, but I did get to try it from a couple of friends, and I thought it was okay, but yeah, it wasn't. I just like the plain barrel proof single barrels. Is what I like.
Well, when I toured the distillery there, I took the Angels, I forget, it's Angel something. But anyway, I paid a higher price for the tour, but I got to try all that, so it was pretty good. And yes, I do like the single barrels a lot better, and the Heritage is. The
Heritage was really good, yeah. Yeah, who's been finding some of those is our buddy Rob. He's still, because he goes, he's a Bed Bath & Beyond district manager or something, so he goes to all these crazy towns and things like that through Iowa, and he stops everywhere to liquor stores, grocery stores, all that stuff, and he's been finding some Heritage barrels and picking them up recently. So he's always a good contact because he travels and checks. If you ever want anything, talk to Rob because he's constantly checking stuff. So. And I know I got to talk to Justine and see if she just wants me to pay you, Danny, because or she's going to pay Misty through like PayPal or something because she wants that country ham.
Right. Right. I need to get that bottle to you here soon. So.
Oh, no big deal because I'm not going to see her. I might not see her until I know I'll see her. She's coming down for the one class, the moonshine class. So I'll see her for that. So you'll see her too.
Okay.
Too. So that may be the next time I see her.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. If that works out, you guys can she'll just get it to her direct. So. Yeah.
Right.
The moonshine class. I don't want to say too much here, but consider coming to that if you're in the area. It's going to be quite the class if you're into that kind of thing.
It's alcohol.
Yeah, it's alcohol. All right, let's go back and visit these one more time, and make sure that we got it right, and then we're going to vote and see what we think is best. If we had to pick one of the two, again, sounds like neither of us are going to pick. This is our favorite whiskey of all time, but we got to pick one of the two. Which is better, 68 or 69?
Nose-wise, 68's favorite.
Yeah.
Nose-wise.
Yeah. It smells like caramel colored cereal or something. It's a caramel flavored cereal or something like that. It's good, like Cracker Jack maybe, or something like that. I don't know. Man, it's just harsh though. It's not good. Yeah. All right, let's try the 69 one and see what we think of that one. It does smell a little bit better, I think. I don't know. Let me try this again. I'm getting less of the medicinal than before. So the air has helped that a little bit, I think.
Mine actually got worse.
It got worse?
Yeah.
All right, let's see on the taste if it got worse or better. Let's see. I mean, slightly better, definitely a better finish. The other one just leaves that bad taste in my mouth. So,
I'll agree.
all right, who is voting for 1968? Raise your hand. Thinks that one's better. Bill likes it better. Okay. 69. Does everyone?
69.
All right, it's 1969 is the one. So.
A little too woody for me.
Yeah. This one was not great. So definitely was not the gold winner there for sure. This one was going to win any awards.
I actually blended them together, and they're actually pretty decent now.
Oh, okay. Let's try that. Let's try a blend. Because again, we kind of like the nose better on one and the taste better on one. So I'm just going to do a straight blend here. 50-50 blend.
Yeah,
Close to 50-50 as I can get. I don't know that I had the exact same amount in both glasses, but for these purposes, a 50-50 blend. Okay, Tony. Nose is good.
Yeah.
Nose is
I
good.
like it better.
Yeah. Maybe that's on the box if I look. It's in the 68 box. It says, don't open this till next year and then blend it with the 69. That's suggested. All right. I'm going to try it. I'm going to see if Tony's onto something. Not a bad experiment, Tony. Good.
Wow. I'll have to agree.
I agree too. It makes them both drinkable at that point.
Yeah.
So I again, not going to be anybody's favorite, but much better together than they were separate. So if I had to redo my vote, I'll vote for number 3, the combined.
Wine, yeah.
The best. Combined is the best. So Tony, cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You're the hero.
Mm-hmm. You fixed it. So, yeah, that's good. So hopefully everyone who can't make this event and is looking to the video, you stuck until the end because you got to see how to fix your whiskey here. So that's good. That's good. Tony's, and the finish is then great. It like kept the best out of everything. The nose is better, the taste is better, and the finish is the solid finish of the second one. It kept all the best things out of all of them. So weird. Usually it gets the worst of, but got the best. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the recording portion of this. We can stick around and still talk, but since we're getting this out there, rather than just watching us chit-chatting, I'm going to end the recording. So for all of you that couldn't make it, cheers. Remember, combine them together, 50-50 mix. You got something to enjoy.
Cheers.
Cheers.